Hey guys, Brenden. By the way, that audio guide, today we're going to talk about a boom microphone and why that might be important to know about for you as a filmmaker. So a boom microphone is basically a hypersensitive microphone that captures audio in a very directional way. So if you ever end up having to use a boom on a film set, I'm going to teach you a couple of the basics to know about a boom. So first off, we obviously have the microphone, the boom, which this case it's a Rode NTG3. These run at about $700. These are awesome microphones. I highly recommend them. They sound fantastic for the price range. They're really warm and full and tight, but also really clear. And then you have the pistol grip. This is part of a blimp collection that Rode also has, if you want to get one from Rode. So this basically keeps the wind out when you move it around, okay? And it also comes with a shock mount, which basically prevents the microphone from making noise when you're handling it. And then of course you have the boom pole, which basically just holds the microphone and you can extend in and out depending on your situation. So let me show you the ideal position to capture audio and what that sounds like. Now, before we go into that, some of the best advice I've ever heard about microphones is pretending that they are eyeballs. So in this case, like I said, since it's a hypersensitive eyeball, think about where it's going to capture the sound. And when you put it somewhere, why it's capturing the sound that way. So I'm going to show you in a sec. We're going to try and capture Doug here talking in a normal setting. So thinking about, real life and how our ears work, when you're talking to somebody, you talk to them at eye level, right? So the way that the sound is coming out of their mouth and traveling into your ears, you're going to hear this range, his head, his chest. So that's what we want to capture with the microphone. So we're going to set it up that way. So check this out. Okay, so pardon our horrible filmmaking skills. We're audio people, not filmmakers. But this is to get you an idea. So imagine this square of what we're trying to capture. Okay, so it's from a little above the head and then down to the chest. And that's what we are naturally hearing in person. So naturally, we want to capture that piece of audio, in that fashion. So as your ears would, when you're talking to a person, you have a conversation, a foot or two away. So you wouldn't have a conversation right here. So don't put the mic right up in their grill because that's not going to sound natural. So we're going to hold it up parallel to the ground. And it's important to keep the microphone parallel to the ground like this, because this is going to get you the best movement without changing the sound the most. So let's say we have Doug and we had another subject here and we were swapping between the two. By holding it parallel, I'm able to easily swivel the microphone in my hand and move it back and forth to capture each talent's dialogue, right? And I could even move it like this if I want, move it higher distances. Whereas if I had it tilted like this, say I was capturing Doug and then someone was right here and I hurry and brought it over, the tonal quality of the sound would change a ton by the time I've traveled over there, because I'm capturing, if I'm angled, I'm capturing Doug and everything behind Doug. And then when I turn to this person, I'm capturing them and everything behind them. So by keeping it parallel, you capture Doug's forehead down and then this person's forehead down. And hopefully the floor remains the same. So here's an audio example of Doug at this angle, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away, aimed kind of at his nose and lower chin.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
All right, so hear how that sounds natural. And make sure you're always recording at healthy levels. So watch that video if you haven't yet, recording at healthy levels. And you want to make sure that you're capturing their audio so there's no distortion. So now you've heard a good example of where it should capture. This is something you don't want to get.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
Okay, so that was aimed at the back of his head, at his neck. Obviously no sound is coming here. Let's try another position. So this is aiming at his face, about 2 feet away, trying to capture the same position. And we're going to play back to back, the one above his head and this one angled, and hear how different this sounds.
To be or not to be, that is the question. To be or not to be, that is the question. To be or not to be, that is the question.
All right, so now we're going to listen to what it sounds like lower, coming from the bottom if you can't come in from the top. Okay, so let's say you have a scene where you can't get in above his head because maybe there's no headroom in the shot, or your boom pole can't go long enough without you being in the frame, whatever it may be. This is what it sounds like capturing audio from the bottom. We're still trying to aim for the same position. Remember the square. We're trying to hit like chin, nose area, capturing some of the chest. And we're going to play this back to back with the one above his head and let you hear the differences.
To be or not to be, that is the question. To be or not to be, that is the question.
So hear how those two sound different? And that's because, going back to the ear thing, you're never going to listen to audio right here. You know, you're not going to hear things like from the floor position. And so trying to capture his sound upwards, you're going to grab his crotch, you're going to grab his chest, and then his voice. So it's not going to sound as natural as trying to get it on eye level or slightly above eye level heading into his talking direction. So again, hopefully you'd never have to use a boom for anything that you're working on because you have a sound guy, but if you ever find yourself in a tight position, then go ahead and use this information and use it to your advantage. And I also apologize for my face being blown out and overwashed out. I'm sorry, we're not filmmakers, so kisses. We love you. Thanks. See ya.